Markets may not produce outcomes that are always considered socially desirable. This may prompt governments to intervene in an attempt to change the outcomes. Market failure is a situation where the free market fails to allocate resources efficiently, leading to a loss of economic and social welfare. Market failure in society is the result of inefficient resource allocation causing outcomes that do not maximize overall welfare or benefit society as a whole. The consequences of the underprovision of merit goods and services are poorer education, weaker healthcare outcomes, and reduced long-term productivity. The consequences of the underprovision of other goods and services are shortages, reduced consumer choice, and unmet social or economic needs. This leads to market failure in society as resources are not allocated to goods and services that generate the greatest overall benefit. The consequences of the underconsumption of merit goods and services are lower human capital, increased inequality, and higher future social costs. The consequences of the underconsumption of other goods and services are reduced economic efficiency and lower overall welfare. This leads to market failure in society as individuals fail to consume goods that provide significant benefits beyond themselves. Positive externalities are benefits to third parties arising from the consumption or production of a good or service. This leads to market failure in society as goods with positive externalities are underconsumed or underproduced by the market. Negative externalities are costs imposed on third parties as a result of the consumption or production of a good or service. This leads to market failure in society as goods with negative externalities are overconsumed or overproduced. A demerit good is a good or service that is overconsumed due to consumers underestimating its long-term costs. The consequences of the overconsumption of demerit goods and services are increased healthcare costs, reduced productivity, and wider social harm. This leads to market failure in society as consumption decisions impose costs on others that are not reflected in market prices. Occupational immobility is the inability of workers to change jobs due to a lack of skills, qualifications, or training. This leads to market failure in society as labor resources are not used efficiently across the economy. Geographical immobility is the inability of workers to move between locations to access employment opportunities. This leads to market failure in society as labor shortages and unemployment persist in different regions. Imperfect information is a situation where consumers or producers do not have full knowledge about a good or service. This leads to market failure in society as decisions are made that do not maximize welfare. Asymmetric information is where one party in a transaction has more information than the other. This leads to market failure in society as unequal access to information distorts market outcomes. Environmental change is the alteration of natural conditions due to economic activity or human behavior. Environmental change can impact the economy as it increases costs, reduces productivity, and damages long-term growth prospects. This leads to market failure in society as environmental costs are not fully accounted for in market decisions. Externalities are the positive or negative effects of economic activity on third parties that are not reflected in market prices. Private benefits are the direct gains received by individuals from the consumption or production of a good or service. External benefits are the positive spillover effects enjoyed by third parties who are not directly involved in the transaction. Social benefits are the total benefits to society, combining both private benefits and external benefits. These can lead to market failure across the economy as goods with significant external benefits tend to be underconsumed or underproduced. Private costs are the costs faced directly by producers or consumers when making an economic decision. External costs are the negative spillover effects imposed on third parties who are not part of the transaction. Social costs are the total costs to society, combining both private costs and external costs. These can lead to market failure across the economy as goods with external costs tend to be overconsumed or overproduced. The impact on society of charging prices that do not reflect total internal costs are inefficient production decisions and misallocation of resources. The impact on society of charging prices that do not reflect total external costs are overconsumption, environmental damage, and reduced social welfare. The impact on society of charging prices that do not reflect total internal and external costs are widespread inefficiency and long-term welfare losses. Environmental externalities are the positive or negative spillover effects of economic activity on the natural environment. These can affect the economy as they increase costs, reduce productivity, and damage long-term growth. These can lead to market failure across the economy as environmental impacts are not fully reflected in market prices. The different policies that are used to deal with market failure are the provision of public and merit goods, indirect taxation of demerit goods, tradable pollution permits, provision of information, legislation, and regulation. The provision of public goods are the supply of goods that are non-rival and non-excludable, such as defense and street lighting, funded by the government. This deals with market failure as public goods would otherwise be underprovided or not provided at all by the free market. The short-term impact of the provision of public goods on the economy is increased government spending and higher aggregate demand. The long-term impact of the provision of public goods on the economy is improved productivity and sustained economic growth. The short-term impact of the provision of public goods on society is improved access to essential services. The long-term impact of the provision of public goods on society is greater equality and improved quality of life. The provision of merit goods are government-funded or subsidized goods and services such as education and healthcare. This deals with market failure as it increases consumption of goods that generate positive external benefits. The short-term impact of the provision of merit goods on the economy is increased public spending and higher employment. The long-term impact of the provision of merit goods on the economy is a more skilled and productive workforce. The short-term impact of the provision of merit goods on society is increased access to healthcare and education. The long-term impact of the provision of merit goods on society is improved health outcomes and social mobility. The indirect taxation of demerit goods is the use of taxes on goods such as tobacco and alcohol to raise their prices. This deals with market failure as higher prices reduce overconsumption and internalize external costs. The short-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on the economy is higher prices and reduced consumption. The long-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on the economy is lower external costs and reduced strain on public services. The short-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on society is reduced consumption of harmful goods. The long-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on society is improved public health and lower social costs. Tradable pollution permits are government-issued allowances that limit the amount of pollution firms are allowed to produce. These deals with market failure as they reduce negative externalities by capping pollution and creating financial incentives to cut emissions. The short-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on the economy is higher prices and reduced consumption. The long-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on the economy is lower external costs and reduced strain on public services. The short-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on society is reduced consumption of harmful goods. The long-term impact of the indirect taxation of demerit goods on society is improved public health and lower social costs. The provision of information is the supply of clear and accurate information to consumers about the costs and benefits of goods and services. This deals with market failure as it reduces imperfect and asymmetric information. The short-term impact of the provision of information on the economy is improved decision-making by consumers and producers, leading to more efficient allocation of resources. The long-term impact of the provision of information on the economy is increased productivity and sustained economic efficiency as markets function more effectively. The short-term impact of the provision of information on society is greater awareness of the costs and benefits of different goods and services. The long-term impact of the provision of information on society is improved welfare and healthier, more informed consumer behavior. Legislation and regulation is the use of laws and rules to control production and consumption decisions. These deal with market failure as they directly restrict harmful activities and enforce standards. The short-term impact of legislation and regulation on the economy is increased compliance costs for firms. The long-term impact of legislation and regulation on the economy is more sustainable and stable economic activity. The short-term impact of legislation and regulation on society is improved protection for consumers and workers. The long-term impact of the legislation and regulation on society is greater safety, fairness, and overall welfare. Thank you for watching this video on market failure across the economy. I'll see you in the next one.